Hi everyone, Kyrie here, and today I will be reading a one-shot titled Little Izuku and the League of Villains by a tired and dead writer. This fic has over 25,000 words, so I will be breaking it up into different parts, and last but not least, the link to this fic will be in the description below. Little Izuku and the League of Villains by a tired and dead writer. Here's the summary. In a world where Midoriya Izuku does only one thing differently at the mall, he ends up being hit with a quirk that leaves him in his 7-year-old body with no memories. What happens when Shigaraki Tomura finds that Midoriya Izuku at the mall? The League adopts a 7-year-old. Duh. Work text. Little Izuku. Izuku was having a good day until he very suddenly wasn't. The day at the mall was his class was supposed to be relaxing, productive, and social. However, he found himself alone, abandoned, and sorry. Uraraka ran off so quickly and he had no explanation from her as to why. She seemed embarrassed, maybe shy, or maybe she just really needed that bug spray. Either way, he was there, gripping the straps of his yellow backpack as he stood in the middle of a packed mall by himself like an idiot. Izuku started walking because standing there like a weirdo wouldn't really achieve anything, and he did need those wrist weights after all. It's why he came here in the first place. Izuku walked briskly, dodging people as he wove through the crowd. He had no idea where that store was. Unfortunately, that meant Izuku didn't see the child until it was too late. Stumbling as something collided with his legs, he immediately jumped back and scrambled to apologize. The child had bright pink hair and eyes, and the red-haired and red-eyed mother crouched down to examine her son as she sent Izuku a glare. "I'm so sorry," Izuku said again, wringing his hands anxiously. "I was looking for this store to buy my weights. They've been getting too light lately. What I mean is I totally didn't see him. That's not an excuse, and I'm super sorry." He cut himself off as his arms went numb, and he had to actually check to make sure it was still there. What? There was no warning. His arm just suddenly felt as though it didn't exist at all. "Mom, my quirk. I didn't mean to." The child showed his hands to his mom, only one having a glove on. Izuku nearly jumped at how quickly the mother stood and turned to face Izuku, panicking. "I'm so sorry," she said, mimicking Izuku's earlier statement. "My son got you with his quirk. It's sort of complicated." Izuku couldn't feel his legs very well, and he felt wobbly, as if he'd collapse. When he touches people, they mimic the age he is. He's nearly 8 right now. She winced. "It wears off. You'll be fine in about 2 or 3 or 4 days, but 5 is the max, I swear. Who can I call for you?" Izuku tried to make his tongue work, but his whole body was numb. He collapsed to his knees, and slowly his limbs started to tingle. It felt like pins and needles intensified by 100. He gasped as it spread up his arms, around his neck, down his waist to cover every inch of him. A sharp pain rang through his head, and Izuku slumped unconscious in front of the panicking mother-son duo. If they'd been a different mother and son, they would have stayed. They would have picked up the now 7-year-old child sleeping on the ground in a shrunken version of his previous clothes and taken him to a security guard. The unconsciousness only remained for up to 5 minutes after all. They'd have gotten the police involved, and he'd have been given to UA safely to wait out the quirk. This is not what happened. The son stared at the spot where the older boy had been before turning to his mom. Mom, that's a hero student. She whipped around to him as he pointed at the curly, green-haired child with his shaking, non-gloved hand. He goes to UA, and he was on TV for the sports festival. His mother paled drastically before scooping up her child and walking briskly in the other direction. It'll be fine, baby. The heroes will find him, and he won't remember us anyway. The mother knew her son's quirk was often called useless, but after using it on a hero's student, it'd be deemed villainous. She couldn't do that to her child. The green-haired kid would be fine. So many people were in the mall. Someone would get him help. They would. She tried to convince herself that as she exited the mall and took her son home without looking back. When the boy woke up, he was confused. He was somewhere loud, and there were people everywhere. He looked around for anyone he recognized before realizing he didn't even know who he was looking for. Did he have a mom? A dad? He racked his brain, scrunching his nose and mumbling with a hand on his chin as he tried to remember. His name was Midoriya Izuku. He was quirkless, and he was 7 years old? He nodded to himself before pushing off the floor in search of an adult. He didn't know why, but he felt like adults were supposed to help. Maybe someone told him that if he was lost to get an adult. He couldn't remember. Izuku looked around and approached the closest person, a man standing against the wall talking on his cell phone. Excuse me, Izuku stammered. He felt all shaky inside, but he didn't let it stop him as he clenched his shirt in nervous determination. I need an adult to help me. The guy looked down with a frown. I'm not interested in helping lost kids. Buzz off. The man then turned back to his phone, and Izuku shrank back. He really needed an adult. Izuku tried again, a woman this time. She had 3 children with her, all varying ages and varying attempts of escaping her playfully to explore. Maybe a mother would help him? I need help, Izuku said as firmly as he could. The woman raised her head as she caught one of her children giggling in her arms, and her eyes widened. Oh, you poor dear, have you lost your parents? She seemed so genuine, so Izuku melted in relief. I don't know, I can't remember, Izuku admitted. The woman looked confused. Kid, you're what, 7? Izuku nodded, since it was probably close enough. You should know who your parents are. She sounded exhausted, and Izuku frowned. I'm sorry, I can't remember, he repeated, more pleading. The woman wrangled in another of her escapely and very giggly children and frowned at Izuku. Look, kid, I have my hands full right now. If this is some morality test or something, please go. A lost kid sucks, but I'm sure someone else will help you if you've actually developed sudden amnesia for real. She then turned back towards her own children, and Izuku padded away, eyes teary. Izuku didn't want to be told to go away again. It made him all sad inside, like his stomach was in knots and bubbling like hot water. He clutched himself as he made for the exit. Maybe he could find a police officer? Izuku didn't get much further as he began hyperventilating outside, leaning against the cold wall of the mall. Sliding downstairs and pulling his knees to his chest, the green-haired child sobbed. Where was his mom? His dad? Did he even have one? Either of them? Was he abandoned? Why did he know his name but nothing else? He spiraled, panicking and sobbing as he hid his face in his knees. Nobody paid much attention to the soft sobbing of a small green-haired child outside the mall. Children threw tantrums, and surely a parent was nearby. Why should the civilians care? Someone else would help, surely. A hero would help. That's what they did, right? Izuku cried and cried, listening to footsteps pass him by until one set stopped, and clothing rustled. Izuku peeked a teary eye out to see red eyes and light blue hair. The man was crouched to be at Izuku's level and staring intently. His face was riddled with scars and what looked like an odd dry skin rash of some kind. Hello, Izuku stuttered, arms wiping at his eyes and nose. The man eyed him, what he was wearing, and his eyes seemed to burn into Izuku. What's your name? The man's voice was a firm rasp, as if he hadn't had any water in days. Izuku sniffed loudly. Midoriya Izuku. The man didn't seem surprised, but his eyes burned with curiosity and excitement? Maybe triumph? Izuku couldn't tell. Are you an adult? Yes, the man said carefully. Izuku tried for a wobbly, exhausted smile. Will you help me? Adults are supposed to help, he choked out, but nobody wants to help me. The man's eyes narrowed before he nodded slowly. Yes, I will help you. The man grinned then, all white teeth and thin lips. But Izuku was not afraid. Izuku reached his hand upwards, and the man looked extremely uncomfortable. But he stood and picked Izuku up. The man set Izuku on his hip, Izuku wrapping his arms lightly around the man's shoulder and neck. He held Izuku oddly, fingers gripping him tightly while others didn't even graze him. Do you have a touched face quirk? Izuku mumbled, head falling onto the man's shoulder. Yes, the man's answer was curtly, but Izuku beamed tiredly. Crying was exhausting. I bet it's cool, probably five-finger touch activated, and probably dangerous considering the way you're holding me. Izuku mumbled, eyes slipping shut. I bet it's super cool. You should tell me all about it, and I'll write it in my notebook. I like quirks, even though I don't have one. Izuku yawned, and he felt the man tense slightly, but kept walking. Wait, what notebook? Izuku couldn't remember. You don't have a quirk? No, I'm quirkless, Izuku answered tiredly through another yawn. Doctor said I shouldn't be a hero. Izuku was nearly shocked awake by that comment. He didn't remember that before. Everyone says that. Izuku couldn't help it. His eyes slipped shut. He scrambled to remember, to know where he was getting these things. All he got were flashes, bright orange flashes in his vision, green hair, white rooms, and old doctors. He got more pieces than anything, but it was all soon slipping away as he fell asleep on the shoulder of the stranger who saved him.